And welcome to The Balancing Act. I'm Julie Moran.
And I'm Olga Villaverdi. You know, it's been more than 25 years.
Hard to believe.
I know, since Miss Saigon debuted on Broadway.
And now this blockbuster musical is back and heading out right on tour here in America.
I can't wait for that. Plus, a simple test can help diagnose food allergies. The Balancing Act starts right now.
Broadway Balances America, brought to you by Broadway across America, bringing the best of Broadway to a city near you.
Okay, time now for Broadway Balances America.
Today is a true Broadway blockbuster, Miss Saigon, the story of a courageous young Vietnamese woman who falls in love with an American GI during the last days of the Vietnam War.
And as our Amber Milt found out, the story has never been more relevant.
Take a look.
Thanks, ladies. This new production is grittier. It's more realistic, and with its timely subject matter, it resonates with audiences across the globe. And for the first time in 17 years, audiences across America are going to get to experience this epic love story for themselves, right from their own city. In the last days of the Vietnam War, 17-year-old Kim is forced to work in a Saigon bar run by a notorious character known as the Engineer. There, she meets and falls in love with an American GI named Chris, but inevitably, they are torn apart by the war and the ultimate fall of Saigon.
Miss Saigon follows the story of a young 17-year-old girl who's orphaned through the Vietnam War. And it follows her journey through trying to survive and trying to make it out of Vietnam as Saigon is falling and as the GIs are leaving. And along the way, she meets a GI who she falls in love with, and they have a child together. He does not know because he's pulled out of Saigon very unexpectedly. It follows her fight for survival and everything that she'll do for her child. So it's a love story between her and Chris, but also between her and her child.
I know as long as I can keep believing.
20-year-old Emily Bautista is taking on the challenging and breathtaking role of Kim in the national tour. She understudied the role during the show's Broadway revival.
Still really hasn't hit. I mean, it has, but it's also like me trying to go with the flow and go with the punches and go with everything, because it's been really incredible. And I'm just so honored to be able to now tell this story. This production really tackles the most raw and real side of the Vietnam War. We started off our rehearsal process watching documentaries, and the scenes that we saw in the documentaries were the scenes that were in this show. And it was the prostitutes and the GIs. They're not easy scenes to watch, but it does show the struggle that people went through during this war. We'll run the nightmare scene, which is the GIs leaving. And it takes a lot. It takes a lot from the whole cast to really emotionally give yourself over to that.
To celebrate the launch of the new national tour, Emily had the honor of sitting down with Lea Salonga and Eva Noblezada, who portrayed the role of Kim in the original Broadway production and the most recent Broadway revival, respectively.
Lea Salonga is someone I've looked up to my whole entire life, just in every aspect, being such a strong, independent woman that has made an amazing career for herself. And then Eva has been one of my really great friends since the Broadway production, and she's always had my back. So getting to talk to them about Kim and getting to learn from them and watch them over the years, it's just been such a blessing. They are so supportive and just have so much wisdom to share.
Kim is not the only strong female of Miss Saigon. Jackie Wynn plays one of the Dreamland dancers whose real-life story shows the delicate balance between art imitating life.
I want to make sure I do justice to the story, because this is something that actually happened, and it happened to my family. My mom was 17 when the war began. She married an American GI, and I have 3 half-brothers, and so who are a product of the war. And so this is actually a direct correlation from Miss Saigon to my own family's history. And some of the scenes are very raw. What we want as actors to do is to do justice to those people, especially my family. And I want to be able to explain and to act and to be able to show more emotions and more vulnerability on stage. And our director, Lawrence Connor, has done such an amazing job of asking that from us and being fearless.
We wanted to not pull our punches. We wanted to be very clear that the narrative is a real one, and that in order to understand and to really see the journey and difficulties and hardships of these people, we need to tell it honestly.
While Kim goes on an epic journey of survival to find her way back to Chris, the American GI returns home, where he marries and is left unaware of the life he left behind. Stacey Bono plays Chris's wife Ellen on the national tour. She must balance the intricacies of her relationship and future with Chris and his past with Kim.
Here's a woman that has given her life to help her husband heal from the horrors of the war, and she trusts him implicitly and loves him unconditionally, only to find out that he's been lying to her their entire relationship. And so it's a challenge to really give her the strength that she deserves, while also embodying her with warmth and compassion and understanding and forgiveness, which I think she also has.
For life until we die.
The two women express their heartache against the backdrop of one of Broadway's most beautiful, award-winning scores.
For Ellen, I still believe we find her struggling with her husband's recurring nightmares, what we now know to be PTSD from the Vietnam War. But through the song, she expresses her hope and belief that he will heal from this and they will be able to have a happy, healthy marriage with nothing in between them.
This brilliant new production magnifies the power and epic nature of Bublé and Schoenberg's tremendous score, and it features the original dazzling choreography by Bob Avian. Director Lawrence Connor promises the most iconic scenes will astound audiences.
When you go to see Miss Saigon, you are taken on a journey. It's like opening a window and watching other people's lives, and it's because it's real, because it's honest, because you see a helicopter and you see things that you wouldn't ordinarily see in musicals. It's powerful, and I think that's the secret to the success, because you can't tell this story unless you are an incredible actor, an incredible singer, and I think it deserves every accolade that it's ever received.
Miss Saigon continues to be an audience favorite, and the new touring production will carry its legacy across America, honoring the spirit of the Broadway blockbuster musical.
And actually seeing a show of that scale on the road, like a true Broadway show in all of its glory, coming to your city, coming near you, is just one of those things that you can't miss.
We have done so much work in trying to make it as authentic and as real. We've added lots of Vietnamese words, lots of Vietnamese traditions, and we're really hoping that we can spread authenticity around the United States. And I hope that audiences come and they get to experience that, especially those who are Asian American.
This production is going to be absolutely spectacular in terms of visuals and effects, and the famous helicopter is going to be there. And I hope they're moved by this story and by these compelling performances. And if that movement inspires a little more tolerance for other people or more compassion for other people, I think that would be a beautiful thing.
Come see the show and get ready for it'll take you on an emotional roller coaster. It's a beautiful story that shows that there is love in the most broken of places, and there is hope and there's joy, and as well as hardships. But I think it's a very important story that a lot of people should see.
The North American tour of Miss Saigon is coming soon to a theater near you. Check out Broadway Across America, or you can always go to our website, thebalancingact.com, for all the show information, tour dates, and more. For behind-the-scenes access to Anastasia, Andrew Lloyd Webber's School of Rock, Come From Away, Miss Saigon, Cats, go backstage with Broadway Balances America. Get an inside look at your favorite shows before they come to a city near you.
It's that time of year when we focus on allergies and asthma. Here's why. Did you know that an estimated 15 million Americans live with food allergies, including 5.9 million children under the age of 18? That's 1 in 13 children, or roughly 2 in every classroom. So joining me today to discuss allergies are Dr. Lakia Wright, an allergist, immunologist, and the medical director of U.S. Clinical Affairs within the Immunodiagnostics Division of Thermo Fisher Scientific. Also joining us, Maria Diora, a realtor and mother from Livermore, California. And we have a superstar right next to her, her son, Frankie, who suffers from food allergies. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hi, Frankie.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Ever been on TV?
No.
No? Doctor, I got to start with you because did you hear those statistics?
Yes.
I mean, it's alarming. This is really a public concern.
Yes, we see food allergy rising, and food allergy is really your immune system going haywire in reaction to a food exposure. In the U.S., we have about 2 to 5% of adults with food allergies, and that number is even higher in children, about 8%. And every 3 minutes, a food reaction sends someone to the ER.
And those moments can be really frightening for a parent. Maria, can you talk about what happened? When did you find out Frankie was allergic to something?
When he was about 18 months old, and I gave him pancakes for the first time.
Pancakes. Okay. What? He was loving it, obviously.
Oh yeah. It didn't.
At that moment.
At that moment.
And then.
And then his eyes started watering, and he started coughing, and I thought, what's going on? And he had hives all around his mouth, and his eyes started swelling up, and so I knew something was going on.
What'd you do?
I gave him a bath because I thought something was on his skin that I could wash off.
And then obviously.
And then it didn't really make it stop, and so then I realized, okay, there's something else. I took him to the doctor about suspected food allergies.
All right. Did you finally take him to an allergist?
I did take him to an allergist probably a week or two later, and had testing done, and she tested him for more of the more common things to find out what it was.
Okay, let's see if Frankie, what are you allergic to? Do you know?
Peanut, tree nuts, egg, dairy, and sesame.
Oh, wow, that's quite a bit. So peanuts, tree nuts, milk, eggs, and sesame. So, Mom, you hear this, and you're probably thinking, wow, a lot of changes have to be occurring now in the house, right?
A lot of changes.
Challenging.
Yeah, just had to stick to the basic food, a piece of meat that's cooked and steamed vegetables, and cut out all of the extra stuff. There was no more pancakes, for sure.
Is this the reaction you get, Dr. Wright, from parents? It just happens one day, and all of a sudden, shazam, we have to do a 180 in our life.
Yes, this story is very common, and often it can be scary for the child and the parents. And so it's really important to have a healthcare provider that you can talk to about the symptoms, feel comfortable asking questions, and you can really trust in their advice.
And it's a good thing she went to an allergist because she honed down exactly what he was allergic to. I want to talk about peanuts. Wow. How prevalent are peanut allergies today?
So we see it increasing, and it's estimated that about 2.5% of kids have actually a peanut allergy, and only 20% would outgrow it. And while there's no cure for peanut allergy, there are treatments that would likely come to market in the next year or two.
And Frankie mentioned sesame, and I was reading here that there's a huge push to add sesame as an allergen in food labeling. It's occurring more as well.
Yes, we see sesame as an emerging allergen, and it's more common now, so that's why it's so important to keep people safe who have sesame allergy to actually have it clearly labeled.
So what would you suggest parents do if they suspect they have an allergy or their child has an allergy? What's protocol?
Yes, so if you think that you have an allergy, it's really important to discuss the symptoms with your healthcare provider. Those symptoms, just like Frankie, they include things like rash, typically hives. You can have gut symptoms like vomiting, crampy abdominal pain, even diarrhea. And some people have very severe symptoms like difficulty breathing, wheezing, or feeling their throat is closing.
Is there a test that's done? Is it a blood test that patients do?
Yes, there is. So once you discuss this with your physician, based on your clinical history, they can decide on the appropriate testing. It's called immunoglobulin E testing, also known as IG testing. And IG is what your body makes in response to an allergen. And this testing really helps aid in the diagnosis along with the clinical history. It aids in the diagnosis of food allergy.
Is it the test that Frankie got?
He
Maria?
did eventually, yeah, he'd had that test.
And the results were immediate, and this is what they told you, those 5 things that you had to eliminate from him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, doctor, there's something else called component testing. What is that, and why is that important to do as well as the blood test that Maria did?
Yes, so it's really important to do component testing if you have a food allergy, because what component testing does is it's looking at the different parts of the allergen, and along with the clinical history and exam, it can really help the physician and also help the parent understand what's the likelihood of having a systemic reaction, also known as a reaction that occurs throughout your body, like anaphylaxis. It could also help decide, you know, if you have a milk or egg allergy, sometimes you can have, like Frankie, baked milk or baked egg, and so this testing would help better understand if it's appropriate.
Oh, that's
for you to have
fantastic.
that.
And then he can incorporate a little bit more into his diet.
Yes.
So you're making him baked eggs, and he's okay with that.
Yep.
Quick question, is there any reason to get retested?
Yes, definitely. So you can outgrow allergies, and so you want to get tested initially, but then also you want to continue to get tested because it can help us better understand if you are possibly outgrowing it. If it is likely that you're outgrowing an allergy, there is a thing called the oral food challenge where you can actually ingest the food under physician supervision to then get cleared of the allergy. So retesting is very important.
That's fantastic. You know, there's just so many more options today. I'm glad you're here creating that awareness because a lot of people are not aware of it. What would you tell parents out there who maybe suspect their child has an allergy, or maybe they just found out?
If you suspect, you should get tested because you never know, the next reaction could be worse than the first little minor one.
Doctor, any final thoughts?
Yes, so there is testing available. The blood testing is convenient. Any healthcare provider can order it. It aids the provider in providing a diagnosis of allergy. And we have more information at allergyinsider.com.
Tell me that website one more time.
allergyinsider.com.
Thank you so much for the information, for the awareness. I do appreciate it. Maria, thank you so much for coming from California to give us this fabulous story. Frankie, I also hear you love a vegetable, lots of vegetables. What's your favorite? Oh, mine too. Give me 5. You're a cutie patootie. Thank you, Frankie, for coming. Of course, thank you for joining us today. And if you'd like more information, go to our website, thebalancingact.com. That was great. Did you know that Social Security does not cover the cost of a funeral? Social Security only pays a one-time $255 lump sum benefit to the surviving spouse and or children under the age of 18. So it's important to have a plan in place and the means to pay for a funeral. One option is to purchase a guaranteed whole life insurance policy from United of Omaha Life Insurance Company, a Mutual of Omaha company. They offer some of the lowest rates compared to other companies. Applying is easy. There's no medical exam, and if you're between the ages of 45 and 85, your acceptance is guaranteed. This type of coverage allows you to leave money to your loved ones to cover the cost of your funeral and other final expenses. The majority of claims are paid within 24 hours, allowing them to focus on healing at such a difficult time. Our Facebook page and our website, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter.
Also our Instagram at Julie and Olga. Lots of fun stuff there. Thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you next time.